right, so we're going to go over the operation of the new battery combination tool that's going to be on engine 43, 44, and 45. Very simple operation. The way the engines are going to be set up, the combination tool will be there in conjunction with a motor vehicle crash kit and a set of stabilization devices, step checks. So the biggest difference is this is a battery operated tool. It's the Milwaukee M28 lithium-ion battery. There's a fuel indicator on the back end of the battery itself. So when you're doing the vehicle checks in the morning, just hit the fuel indicator on the back side. The only time you will ever put this battery on a charger is if there's a bar missing. So if you have 3 bars on there as an indication that it needs to be charged, that's the only time you have to put it on there. Don't charge the batteries if it does not have a bar that's missing. When you put the Milwaukee battery on the charger, there will be a red indicator that the battery is being charged. For a full depleted battery, it'll take 60 minutes to charge. For a 50% depleted battery, it'll take 30 minutes, and so on. If there's 1 bar missing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's down 25%. It just indicates that it could be anywhere in between like a 7% range. But with a fully charged battery over a 30-day period, it's only going to lose 4 to 8% of its battery capacity. So sitting on the tool, plugged into the back end, it will not deplete the power whatsoever. So being that this is a sealed system, when you do your vehicle checks, that's probably the only thing that you're going to have to look for. If you want to get so far as in depth to push the on-off button to turn it on, that's fine, but it should not really be necessary. With the battery tool here, you push the on-off button and it'll start the motor spinning. So what that is a brushless motor inside the unit, and it starts the RPM, so the tool is much more responsive and quicker when you hit the control. When you turn the button on, it will start the motor to spin. You'll see LED lights come to the upper side and 2 forward-facing LED lights to illuminate the work zone. Just like the Genesis tools that we have right now, the thumb and index finger actuate the tool controls. There's a depression on the one side. When you push that down, the arms will close. If I come in from the other side with my thumb and push it in, the arms will open up. It's a throttle control, so if I push down a minimal amount on the arms itself, you can get the arms to go as slow as you possibly need them to go. You can see that the blades are actually moving right now. And the more and more pressure you put on that control valve, the faster you can get the arms to move or spin. The motor will continue to spin unless it remains in an idle position for 30 seconds. In that event, the tool will shut itself off so the battery does not deplete itself down. Everything on this tool has a sealed system to the inside, so you don't have to worry about checking any type of fluids or anything like that. The one thing you want to definitely pay attention to is that the tool is a little bit longer than the conventional tools. So when the tool is being used for the auto extrication, if it goes into like a torsional or rocking motion, you want to pay attention to the back end to make sure that the battery isn't side loaded so it doesn't crack off of the actual harness on the back end. As far as the duration and longevity of the battery, everything that you're going to need to do on one single vehicle, it should be performed in one battery. As a backup, we ordered a 110 volt where you can fire up the generator, plug it into the 110 volt system, and then remove this battery. A dummy battery goes onto the back end with a cord, and then you can run the tool non-stop. So as far as like depleting your power capabilities, it's not going to be an issue. The tool's balanced really well, 50% at the center. It's 49 pounds in weight, and it has a 17-inch blade opening. The biggest difference that you guys are going to encounter is that we've gone with a combination tool where it will spread and cut. They are not 2 separate tools. With that being said, it has a 17-inch opening. One common problem with combination tools of the past is it had fixed spreader tips on the cutting surfaces itself, or the cutting arms. So if there was any metal ahead of the cutting surface that you were attempting to cut, oftentimes the fixed tips of the spreader side would pinch the material and you'd never get the blades to completely pass. This one is engineered so there has push pins, so you can pop the tips off, slide them off, and then it has a full straight blade cutter on the underside there where you can get full depth cuts at a very large opening. The pins are designed to stay in the tip itself, so you will not lose them. They're omnidirectional, so you can put them on any direction and it shouldn't cause any issues whatsoever. By comparison, this one does have a 17-inch opening. The full-size hydraulic spreader that we have on the engines now has a 24-inch opening, so it's a little bit different spreading distance. But in comparison, that spreader that we have on the engines now has a spreading force of 24,000 pounds. This has a spreading force of 156,000. You do not have to stay just on the tips. There's a engraved surface on the back end of the arms here, which you can use to push off of and spread off of as well. The one difference that you guys are going to encounter when you're cutting is this is a full straight blade cutter. It's not like a radius shaped blade with your conventional hydraulic tools where it'll grab the material, and as the blades close, it brings that material into the V-notch. This thing, because it has a serrated straight blade, the material that you're cutting, you want to automatically or start the cut with that material into the notch, because it won't draw it into that notch, you know, as you've probably experienced in the past. If we were cutting material that's tubular shaped, say like we're going to cut a nadir pin, you want to get that nadir pin buried into the notch as much as possible, because the more and more you cut out towards the outer portion of the blades, the more apt the cutter or the combination tool is going to be to go into like a torsional movement, which is a side-to-side rocking. With that, it has a 360-degree rotating handle. You can keep it fixed down for a fixed handle position. You can loosen it up so the handle will rotate 360 degrees. And if we're trying to reduce the profile and get into some tight void areas, you can take the handle off in 2 pieces and then apply it back out in the field for your normal operations. The good thing about this is this cutter has a tendency to rock around back and forth a little bit. So if you do keep it loose, when the cutter's actually making its cut, if it does start to rock around, it'll give you the ability to keep your hands in the same exact position. This way too is if I have to come in and make a spreading motion this way, and then I'm going to come in and make like a lifting motion, I can just rotate the back end of the tool with my arm without having to fight it for a position. When storing the tool, make sure that there's a gap in between the 2 tips. We don't want to put any kind of pressure on the toggle joints, which will, you know, in turn have a long-lasting negative effect on the maintenance of the tool itself.